Hello everybody, welcome to the TraderMerlin show to wrap up your week of, what are we, we're in April 9th today? April 8th. I guess I could just click my handy dandy little lower third graphic here. It is April 8th, wrapping up the week. Most everything ending the week with a nice big red down candle. So cheers to those who were bearish, although I made a little bit of change on the upside move out there today. Hey Chris, good to see you. Happy Friday. Hope it's not as swelteringly hot up in NorCal as it is here. You will probably see me sweating on today's show as my new office has no AC in this one, and it is like 90-something degrees outside. So I'll be rubbing ice cubes on my forehead to keep cool as we do this show. So cheers, everybody. Happy Friday. Let's get things started. All right, as you can see by the graphic I posted today, I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with the sweltering heat. It's not even triple digits, and I'm still complaining, or already complaining. Oh, summer's going to be a fun one. I'll have to get that AC fixed up here. So let me start with a little bit different approach today. I'm going to run through kind of the top 7 markets and do them from a weekly perspective because some of them had some pretty ugly candles out there. I'll start at the bottom, which NASDAQ was down 1.43% on the day, but check out the weekly. You know, I think that this one is important because we talked about it last week. When you look at the weekly candle that finished here, you have this shooting star, which a tail that goes all the way up into this weekly demand or weekly supply zone, and a weekly shooting star. So the logical thing with the weekly shooting star is to wait for it to open up above the low of that previous week. In this case, that low is 14,658. And then when we break down below that, go short. And if you did that this week for the NASDAQ, you can see it was a pretty ugly downturn here on the week. I'll give you the exact numbers that we sold off from the open on Monday to where we closed at today. You're down about 3.48% for the NASDAQ 100. Now, it gets worse for some of these other ones. Bitcoin, of course, had a pretty volatile and wild week, and that's even in the face of what's going on down in Florida. You know, if you go to Florida right now, they're having the big Bitcoin conference, and of course, that is just a bunch of cheerleaders and people saying how great Bitcoin is, which of course, I do believe that there is some great sides to Bitcoin. And last year, we actually had some very, let's just say, major announcements. You had Bukele of El Salvador basically make an announcement that he was going to make it legal tender, and he did. So I guess the speculation and anticipation is that something big will happen this year. Unfortunately, look at the price chart of Bitcoin, really didn't do much. I mean, this week was down about 9.26%. If we look at the longer term picture, it really looks like Bitcoin has just been traversing sideways for the better part of a year now. I know these swings are absolutely massive, but it looks like it's just traversing sideways. So right now, not a lot to say about the current price of Bitcoin other than it was a big down week. I'll move up to the Russell 2000, which also had a gigantic red candle. For the week, the Russell itself was down about 4.6%, giving back a lot of the gains we saw over the past couple weeks, but still staying within that yellow box. Mark says it's above freezing in Wisconsin. I would take some cold weather right now because it is damn hot over here. All right, keep moving up. Let's go to, we already went over the Russell. Let's do the S&P, which had a kind of a tiny little compressed candle this week. And compared to some of these other market indexes, it really wasn't that bad. As a percentage loss, only down 1.24%, which, let's be honest, that's like a daily move now for the S&P. So all in all, not a bad week. It really is a question of these two big green weeks here. So when we bounced off those lows back on March 14th, the question I have is this an impulse move that's going to change sentiment and direction of the market, or is this just a corrective phase that is now going to see the next leg down? And I don't know the answer to that one. Nobody does. We can all speculate and offer our 2 cents on what we think is going to happen. But right now, still expecting some weakness here in that S&P to trickle down, certainly based off the news at the FOMC meetings this week. And then next week, I'll tell you a little bit more about the major announcements happening, which are significant. You have 3 central bank announcements. You've got CPI, PPI. It's going to be crazy. All right, let's look at the Dow. So here's the Dow. You can see this is what we call long-legged doji, which is long topping tail, long bottoming tail. Not a lot of real definitive direction on the week. Dow was down 0.2%. So call it flat for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Moving on up, we actually have one. Let's start. Actually, I'm going to go to crude oil because crude oil was down on the week, and then we'll go to the one positive sign. So crude oil on the week down 1.18%. Seems mild compared to the previous 4 weeks before it, which were just all over the place volatile. And then here is your weekly winner something with a little bit of green behind it. That's right, gold and commodities pretty much. Gold is up 1.18% on the week, which made some people happy out there. I'm still holding gold. So when it's above 32, we roll down the cart. Oh boy, yeah, it's a little bit different. I've been out there before. I definitely do like Minnesota. It's nice and cool up there, but yeah. Or Wisconsin, sorry. We have a lot of heat out here, and I have a feeling it's going to be a very, very hot winter. So let's start off with a couple different questions that came through. And again, I'm going to be mostly going through questions that people post on the YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube, go to my channel, which is TraderMerlin, and I will try my best over the next week or two to clean it up a little bit, make it look a little bit more professional. I just kind of threw that together 2 years ago and haven't done anything with it, so I need to improve that one. But put the comments down below the YouTube videos, as Les and many others have been doing. We appreciate that. I say we like there's a whole team behind me. It's literally just me. All right. So one of the questions that came through from yesterday, we talked about patterns. I believe that was on Wednesday's show when I mentioned a lot of my book preferences. And I don't mean to, dissuade anybody here from reading books on trading and investing. I think it's all great. The more knowledge you can consume, the better. But really, I think it's more about your experiences and how you deal and learn from those experiences when you're trading and investing. One of the sites I mentioned when I talked about patterns, which if you're interested in patterns, the Bible, if you will, is the Encyclopedia of Chart Patterns by Thomas Bulkowski. Alan sent in this question, and I think you sent this one yesterday, so I might be a little bit late here. He says, I found DHX on FinViz. Wedge up, time to go long. So you can go DHX. Wedges aren't necessarily my favorite pattern to look for, but we will look at it here. Just by looking at this price chart, okay, regardless of what pattern you see, remember, every piece of information that's on this chart is someone's opinion. And it's completely the opinion, which is it going up, is it going down, is it going sideways? That's really the only three options you have in the financial markets. And somebody at every point in this curve here or this chart is making a decision. So I always look at it from that perspective of, as I'm trading, I want to see what are people thinking. And if you look back here, well, let's just say we go to here, right? And we'll just play the hard right edge game on this DHX, and then we'll go to the wedge formation on the daily. If you look at this right here, what is this chart telling you? It's telling you that it's looking weaker, right? This is a weekly. Maybe I should make it a daily just for fun. All right, go to the daily. If you look at it right here, it looks like it's just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, right? So at this point, if you're looking at the hard red edge on DHX, it's really like short the rallies. Although it's a $2 stock, I'm not going to short anything, right? It's just not going to do it. So if I look at potential buying opportunities, I need for it to start making some new highs, and it just really hasn't done that. So if I was trading this from that perspective, I'm looking for a breakout above a supply zone that would be somewhere. Come on, get them drawing tools going for you. I needed to get above this yellow box, right? That's the ceiling that it's had since, going back into 2020. So if I keep going forward here, all of a sudden you have your breakout above it. Now this is a typical breakout and then retreat. So you got what they call a bull trap. The important thing is, does this start to make some new lows? So for me as a trader, I would be looking at, where's my line in the sand? Is it going to be here? Where at 244, am I going to go maybe a little bit higher up? And I need to come up with a number that says, if I'm wrong, and I'm going to get out and take that small loss. That's really the main gist of this here. So you could put it there, you could put it down below the origin of this huge move up, which would probably be the most logical, and we go forward. All right, so now all of a sudden you stayed in it because your stop loss didn't get taken out. Now you have to reevaluate this thing. If we look at that bigger picture, this looks like this trend is reversed on DHX, right? You've got a reversal. It's now making some higher highs. This is exactly what I've been talking about with them indexes. I mean, I don't trade DHX. Didn't even know what DHX is. It's DHI Group, but never traded it because I don't trade penny stocks. But now it's a question of, all right, I'm now long because I bought the breakout, which was right here. Let's say 266. Now what? Now you need to start moving your stop loss up just to lock in some profits, and we go forward. All right. When something moves this much, where it went from $3 up to $4, I'd be moving my stop loss up yet again, which would most likely be below this low here, possibly even using an automated trail stop, and that would have taken me out. So now you look at where we're at now. All right, you got this great trending security, and it's done what? It's formed a pennant formation. It's not a wedge, it's a pennant formation. A pennant is where you kind of have the down angle across the tops and the up angle across the bottoms is fairly symmetrical. That is what people call a symmetrical triangle or a pennant formation. So to Alan's question, found DHX on FinViz, wedge up, time to go long. It's a good question. I'm going to let you guys answer this one. How many of you think that, and let's do it as of yesterday, right, which is so we get rid of this today's candle, but how many of you would think that that is a point to go long? If you had this information that I'm showing you right here in the chart, how many of you would look at that and say, yep, time to go long here? Simple yes or no. Go long this one, and this example would be, let's call it 560, 565, somewhere in there. How many would say yes, you'd be willing to go long that one, or no, just stay out, find something else? So while you guys type in those answers, you have to, it's really about mapping out, I'll cover my automated trail stops in a second, Margaret. So in this situation, I've drawn those two lines on for a reason. Remember, I said it's all about behavioral analysis. So if those lows are getting higher and the highs are getting lower, and I can connect them with a line that's completely visible to everybody in the financial markets. There's nobody here that's going to go, oh, those are totally drawn wrong. No, touch 1 point, touch 2 points, touch 3, 4, 5. Touch 1, touch 2, touch 3, 4, 5. I mean, those trend lines are just about perfect, right? So at this point, if you're trading this, I think you would look at that and say, I'm okay to buy at the bottom of this trend line, which is that 550, 560 mark, but I have to have a pretty tight stop loss, right? Because it's selling off. The other side of it is, do you wait for the breakout? Because here we are. When you have a symmetrical triangle, after a long run-up like this, statistically, according to Bukowski's book, it's a sign that you're going to get a breakout to the upside. There's a higher probability of a breakout to the upside. So, to Alan's question, time to go long? Sure. It's okay to buy long here at the bottom of this at this pullback into the upward trend line. Fine. But you just, everybody, wherever you decide to buy, make sure you have a stop loss, because you could very easily be wrong. And even though the statistics say that this has a higher probability of moving to the upside, well, that means that there's always a chance that it can't, or that it won't move to the upside. So I'm with you, Alan. I would say that would be my first stab at it, but I personally like to wait for it to break the highs. I would be looking at it from this perspective, and this is just me. I'd say if it got above, let's say 620, then that'd be my buy point. I need for it to break the most recent high, even though it looks fairly decent. So what do I got here? Margaret says, yes, in the gap. Okay. Find something else for Daniel. Joe says no thank you. Michael says no thank you. Jimmy says sell a $5 puts. Okay. Now, that's a good, I like that approach. Sell the $5 puts. So for those that might not understand what that means, if we're currently trading up here, which is, I'll put that line up at $2 or $5.80. If you sell that $5 put, that means that you're saying I'm willing to buy it at that lower green line, right? Now, I don't know how much premium you would get on that one, Jimmy, but not a bad idea. I mean, if you think it's going to continue on up and you just want to generate some passive income by selling puts and collecting that premium, sure. I don't think you'd get a lot of money. I mean, if you think about how far away that price was from where we were yesterday, you're looking at, how big of a drop is that? 10%? 12%. Yeah, you get some premium, but probably not too much. Plus, let's be honest, let's look at DHI Group, which ticker symbol is DHX. Let's look at the volume. Its average daily volume looks to be like 200,000. So there may not even be options on this one. I don't have an options chain here, but probably fairly illiquid. So Jimmy, even if you were to sell puts, the spreads would be absolutely massive on this one. But yeah, I like that. I do like the idea of thinking about selling puts. Why not, right? The trend is up. Most likely you're not going to get executed, so go for it. Generate some income. Mark says stay out. Mihai says no. Most everybody said no. And again, I actually commend you on that one. I think it's more important to stay out of something than force a trade. So if you're ever iffy, you're like, I don't know, it doesn't look great, just stay out of it. Don't unless you feel really strongly about a trade, stay out of it. So Alan, I might have gone long-winded on your DHX. Let me real quickly just go to FinViz so I can show you your resources here. Because FinViz is a great free resource for you. But a lot of times they have them wrong. So you see here it says, I don't know which one you had. You said found a wedge. Probably from this one right here. So here are some other examples of wedges. You look at NOA. You got this nice, the highs are all connected, getting lower. The lows aren't quite as symmetrical. It almost looks like a descending triangle, in my opinion, for this NOA here. What else we got? Yeah, like this one here, SLGL. I wouldn't call it anything. I just call it going sideways. It looks like trash. This one up here on RAC, W-R-A-C. I mean, come on. Does that really look like a wedge? That's stretching it to me. Some of these look good. Gel is rather decent. I think gel is more of an ascending triangle as well. So just because you see these sites tell you that this is a wedge or a hammer or something, do your own analysis and make sure that you don't get wrapped up in what other people think. Do your own experience and research there. All right, what else do I got? KF, I don't know if you're here today, buddy, but I'm going to go read through this question from you. KF says, if the upcoming CPI numbers tomorrow are going to be negative, are we going to have more downside and a red Friday, or the reaction of the markets could be different? In your personal opinion, how much of yesterday's FOMC meeting minutes negative news has been priced in? So I think that most of the FOMC meeting was pretty clear cut. People already knew that they were going to start to unwind their balance sheet, the extent to which was the question. So that offered some clarity and was pretty much in line with expectations. So I think that right now the market has already priced in these 12 rate increases. Why that's important is what happens if we only get 8 rate increases for the year? Then that means you're looking at a much more bullish market, right? You're looking at a higher market going forward because they won't have raised as much interest rates as much. So I always think things are priced in. Now, to your point about CPI numbers, those don't come out till next week. So I believe it's Tuesday you have Consumer Price Index, and on Wednesday you have CPI numbers. Now, is there a real, actionable, definitive thing that happens when those numbers come out? The answer is no. No, you might look and the expectations right now, I believe, are 1% for CPI. Let me just check real quick. Why not? Since we've got you all here, let's go and look at next week, and that's going to be Tuesday. So here's Tuesday, CPI. Oh, wow, they're actually expecting it to jump to 1.2. Thank you very much, Russia. I think they might have raised that bar a little much, but remember, this Russia stuff hasn't impacted us yet. Thanks for the 420, Alan. I appreciate that. My 420 days are long gone, but I do appreciate the contribution. If you look here, you see the CPI numbers. You know, it's 8.8% is what it was for the previous month, and that was in line with expectations. And you can see here the chart. It's definitely been accelerating, but it's come back a little bit off these highs we saw back in July and in November. So they're expecting it to be 1.2% for the month. Now, let's just look historically, and have we seen ever on this chart an inflation spike on CPI of 1.2 or more? And the answer is yes. We had a 1.1 back in July of 2008, and then this one is 1.2. So literally it'd be the highest monthly inflation gain we've had in 17 years if we get that number at 1.2 next Wednesday or Tuesday. So that's the consumer price index numbers, but then the day after that you have producer price index, which is PPI numbers. And you notice they're expecting that to jump also. The only saving grace I see here with PPI was, notice that the expectation for the previous month was 1.0 and they came out at 0.8. So this, in my mind, if I can extrapolate the data, it means that businesses are going to have greater profits. They're going to make more money because if the cost for a basket of goods and services is costing 0.8% more to create, and expectations were 1, then the forecast will be for more earnings for these companies. So these two numbers coming out are obviously critical, and I think next week's trading is going to be impacted heavily by this because Powell and all the members of the Fed in the meeting minutes showed concerns about inflation being much higher than expected. Screw transient, it's way higher. So, KF, to your question here, I don't know if you're going to have more downside. It really depends on the extent. So if we come up above, let's go to the PPI numbers again. Go to the PPI or CPI. If we go to CPI and all of a sudden CPI comes out at 1.3, then all that's going to do is really make the entire trading world go, oh, okay, now the Fed really has a problem because they already expected 1.2. That's the forecast, and we heard about an aggressive talk track for that. But now if it comes out at 1.3 or 1.4, then the Fed may really have to be aggressive. And at this moment, some of you guys probably have looked, but the announcement's coming out here soon. We've got another month before the FOMC has their meeting and makes their announcement about rates. And if you look at the, let me get the chart up here. If you look at the numbers for the May meeting, let me bring those up. They're loading up right now. May 4th is the meeting date. You notice right now there's a 78% chance that we're going to get a 50 basis point increase. So that's not one pop. That's a twofer. Well, if we get next week, and keep an eye on this chart, we'll be checking this one as we go through next week's show. If we get an inflation number on CPI that's over 1.2, then my guess is you will now see speculation that on the 3rd or the 4th of May, that we might actually get a 75 basis point increase. I personally don't think that's going to happen. I think 50 is where we should be and what we should do. But if inflation is even higher, the Fed may take drastic measures and go 75 basis points, which I don't think will happen. But I like looking at this chart because it starts to give you an idea of what traders are actually thinking. To KF's point, am I going to be able to plan and execute a trade based off of a CPI or PPI number? No. And I think you're foolish if you are, because there's too many unknowns. Realistically, I think it's more important to wait for the announcement and then make a trade based off of what's happening. Usually wait 15 minutes or a half hour after those announcements are released, let all the chaos and the whipsaw dissipate, and then go and execute your plan. Let's see, Tom says DHX has options, but I would focus on SPY, Russell, and other index ETFs too. Great liquidity, movement isn't too erratic. Yep, exactly. And again, Tom, and others, I've mentioned the 1% strategy that I did a show on several months ago. You can go look at it on the archives. It's called the 1% strategy. That's exactly what I'm doing, right? I'm just looking at S&P, Russell, NASDAQ, and then I look at the main sectors of the S&P. So I'm looking at industrials, utilities, healthcare, financials, energy, and selling options on those ones. Selling something on like DHX, too thin, way too thin, right? I need liquidity out there, because even if I do get a good premium on my puts, if I sell them, I got to get out. I may have to get out, and that spread could be absolutely massive. Not even in the bond market? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, Gilbert, I'll get to crude oil in just a second. What do you mean by that, Margaret? Not even in the bond market? I mean, obviously you'll see the impacts in the bond market. It's going to impact that incredibly. You mean that I didn't go over the bond market today? We can look at the charts real quick. Let's go and check out the bonds just for the heck of it, because it wasn't exactly the wildest day, but you had another pop to the upside. And I think, we've talked about this. I think that the writing is absolutely on the wall. This is going to go higher and higher and higher and higher until we get some clarity as far as inflation and Russia, et cetera, and the unwinding of the balance sheet. I really think you're going to look at a turning point right around 3.1, 3.15, maybe 3.25 on that 10-year before we start to see any real selling. And yeah, I think yields are going to pop, continue to pop. All right, let's see. So I got KF. I'm trying to get through all the listener questions here. So KF's out of the way. Jeremy, and if you have questions like Margaret, definitely type the question marks in front so I know which ones came to me or directed at me. Here is an interesting one, and I'm sure we all have opinions on this. Jeremy says, do you have any concerns with the programmable Fed digital currency, the complete loss of privacy in transactions, and their ability to program what you can and cannot purchase with your money? I hate to go there, but it seems that this is where we're headed. Don't hate to go there. I believe you're absolutely right. It's where we are headed. I've talked about this one quite a bit in the past. I love the concept of a digital currency. Like, I would be happy if we had a central bank digital currency. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the CBDC in conjunction with physical fiat currency, right? Once we go to a system where we no longer have to open our wallet, unfortunately I don't have my wallet with me, but I think we're headed towards a time, probably not in the next 2 or 3, but maybe in the 5 to 10 year range, where we will no longer have coins. We will no longer have physical dollar bills. It will 100% be electronic. And if you don't have access to an electronic market, you don't have access to money. So at some point, and this will be a big thing for our senators and elected officials, is to look at inclusion, because some people can't afford an electronic device to have a digital wallet. At some point, we'll get there. And I think that it's actually, on one spectrum, a phenomenal idea. I don't have to touch filthy, disgusting money, right? Sorry for all you coke addicts out there. You can no longer use physical dollar bills to snort your blow. You got to use something else. I don't want to touch dirty money. I don't want, dollar bills that have been in some stripper's crotch at the strip show. I don't want that. So if I can just hold up my phone and pay and have automatic payments and my tax returns done snap of the fingers instantly. Any stimulus checks never needs to get mailed. There's no administration. It's just simply a click of a button. Boom. It's in my account. I love that concept. To me, that's awesome. Now, I'm also the type of person, I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not trying to hide anything from the government. I pay my taxes, so I don't have an issue there. On the other side, what if you want privacy? What if you want to buy something and not have people know? I mean, let's say you're a married couple and you buy something and you don't want your significant other to know about it, right? Well, that's where I believe you're going to have a black market for physical fiat currency. And I think I've told you this. I actually collect $100 bills. I'm a collector of $100 bills. I've got a pretty good stockpile. Don't worry, you're not going to find them, so don't try to rob my house. They're not in here. But I'm stockpiling $100 bills because I think we'll get to that point in 10 years when the dollar, the physical currency, will be a hot commodity, and the value of a $100 bill will be more than $100 of the Fed stablecoin. Why? Privacy. You know, you talk about privacy coins like Monero and Zcash and several others. They're great, but they still have a record somewhere. A $100 bill has no record of who bought it, who sold it, who moved it, who held it, what it was for. There's no record. So you want transparency, it's still the dollar. And I think we'll have a black market type of economy where those $100 bills become very valuable, or physical fiat currency becomes very valuable. Now, as far as do I want it? I don't know. Part of me says yes, as long as I can have a competing system. Like, I don't want to be forced to use, in everything I do, this CBDC, which is a central bank digital currency. I don't want to be forced to use a CBDC. If you look at Bitcoin, I'd rather use a system like that, or Ethereum, or some cash network that allows me to pay with digital assets where it's no longer in the control of somebody like the Federal Reserve or the government. Remember that the biggest strike against CBDCs, in my opinion, is the absolute Orwellian centralization. Because at any moment, the Fed can say, we're freezing Merlin Rothfeld's account. Hit a button, and I no longer have access to any of my money. Period. And I have to now figure out why that happened. I'm actually watching a TV series right now called Making a Murderer. You guys anybody seen that one? I think it's called Making a Murderer. And it just goes to show you the powers of manipulation and the ability for an authoritarian figure to create chaos in your life. And I don't know how it all turns out. I'm dumbfounded by how this whole thing's going, but that's the part that scares me. And I don't think I'll ever do anything that would warrant my account to be frozen, but they can at any moment freeze your assets in a CBDC. So that's the one reason I do not like it. No thank you. I will stay with my cash. Mihai says, but even today, 90% of my payments are by card yes, by card, kind of a digital, yes. But remember, if you've got a Visa card, a MasterCard, and a Bank of America card, or, you know, an ATM card, those are all separate networks. So let's say something happens at Visa and they shut you off from your Visa account, you still have other payment methods. You can still go down to your bank with your ATM and get cash and pull that money out. If we have a fully CBDC, you will not have access to your money in any form. No matter what credit cards you're using, no matter which bank you use, you'll have no access to it if somebody decides to block you. That's because you have one point of entry. You have one controlling entity, and that's the whole point of cryptocurrencies and digital assets is decentralization. Let's remove that power from one person. So I think as long as we have a hybrid and you and I can choose that I want to use some things I'll pay with my, my central bank digital currency, my digital dollar. Yeah, I'll pay my mortgages, I'll pay all these bills that are automated and great, but I'm also going to have different accounts that are keeping money outside of their control. That's one of the main reasons I love Bitcoin, and I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin, is because I want to make sure I keep that control. Merlin is shell-shocked. Shell-stock. I think he said Merlin is shell-shocked. I don't think I'm shell-shocked. I'll get to that one in a little bit. Let me see. Bought 8 ETH today. Wow, Chris. Not a bad point. I didn't buy 8, but I bought another $2,000 worth this week. So I'm just constantly adding in. If you don't touch dry, dirty money, how will you build up your... Tom, always looking at the bright side. I'll still go outside and play in the dirt. I'll touch tables and walls and silverware, but money, you're right. How do you build up your immunity? Go outside and get dirty. Okay, let's see. What else do I got here? Did they do that to the truckers in Canada with regular bank accounts? I'm not sure if they froze regular bank accounts in Canada. I know that they did freeze the crypto accounts, and then there was ways for them to circumvent that. But it just is an illustration of the power of a government to come and say, we're freezing that. Because that crypto was on a centralized exchange. It would be no different if that was a central bank digital currency, digital dollar, and you were a trucker in the United States and you had a revolt like they did in Canada and say, we're protesting. The government could come in and go, what's the license plate on that truck? Okay, who's it registered to? Merlin Rothfeld? Boom, I got no money. I got no money for gas. I can't fuel up anything because I'm stuck with their system. You see how that could be challenging and very Orwellian. The net starring Sandra Bullock's had her erased digitally. Her only asset was some evidence on a floppy disk they could save her. Oh boy. Creepy that stuff happens. But regarding $100 bills, have you looked at gold-backed cash? I'm not sure if I understand that directly, but I have looked at gold-backed stablecoins. You know, there's PAXG and there's other sources for you to go buy gold. I would say just buy gold. I'm almost looking at physical dollar bills as being a commodity down the road, if that makes sense. You know, right? You got gold, which has its utility, but the $100 bill may actually end up being a commodity as well, of sorts. Let's see. Did I have any last ones? What was the last one? All right, so I've covered. Those are the three main questions I have. That would increase the violence, absolutely. I think that would definitely create some problems. We certainly would have, black market economies and more violence out there. Let's see. So I guess I should do gratuitous promotions because I've been asked to promote this, so I will bring this one up. I am doing a session in Las Vegas. I think I probably told you about this one the other day. Let me just make sure I look better. Just shrink that one up there. Why is it looking so... There we go. At the Money Show in Las Vegas, May 11th is the day of my presentation, but there is a Money Show conference which has well over 100 people presenting and giving presentations on a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm doing one specifically on really strategic investor and looking at how we take digital assets and augment our strategic investor portfolio or retirement accounts, 401ks, utilizing stable coins and other cryptos to get a higher rate of return and actually offer some stability there. So I thought that would be an interesting one for some of you. If you want, I'll put the link in the chat. And if you type in OTA 50, I believe is the number. If you type in OTA 50, that gets you, I think, $50 off admission into this thing. So if you are in Vegas, check it out. I'll be there and maybe we'll have a beer together or something like that. Anyway, I hate doing gratuitous promotions. Anyway, let's get out of that one. Let's see. So let me just go here real quick and look at Shell. Royal Dutch. I think you're talking Royal Dutch Petroleum, right? Was the comment back there? Let me real quickly bring this one up. I think we're on Shell. Frank, did you miss the Bitcoin analysis on your question? Maybe I did. Repeat it there, Frank, and I'll see if I can get to that one. So let me go and look at the Shell question here that came through, and that's from Joe. He says, Merlin, is Shell stock in a range or a clear uptrend? Thinking about buying for long term, but not sure if it's clearly showing which way it's headed. In my opinion, it's showing very clearly which way it's headed. It's headed to the upside. What you really at this point have to wait for is a breakout, right? This starting from these lows back in 2020, and mind you, it joined that party a little bit late. Most things took off back in March of 2020. Shell did a little bit, but gave it all back, and then really started to bounce back in October. So as you see this making higher highs, higher lows, it's clear to me that trend is to the upside. I mean, I could put on whatever moving average you want. You're going to see that it's above it and just trending up. The issue for me with Shell right now would be you came into this overhead supply, we smacked against it, and now what? Right now, I think you need to get your close above this line. And let's see if I can find exactly the numbers here. So that high was 56.13. And if we look at what it's at right now, it's at 56.09. So you need a closing price above 56.13. And then I think you'll be off to the next level, which is going to be about 60 bucks. So trend looks great to me. If you're ever... And this is an easy tool for anybody out there. If you're ever questioning is something on an uptrend or a downtrend, or you just don't quite know, and sometimes evaluating charts can be a bit challenging, it's hard to see, just throw on a moving average. I mean, look, the moving average is very clearly telling you what? It's going up. Now, we could change this. Here's the 200. It's going up. So the 200 tells you over the long period, it's trending up. Over the intermediate, it's definitely trending up with the 50. And let me change this 200 to something like the 20, which is also going to be pointing up, but it'll be a little bit flatter near the end. Well, it just flattened right here because of the sideways action. So it's still, all of them are trending up. So if you're ever curious, it's trending up simply because those moving averages confirm it. Chowski, all right, good to see you. Broke for, okay. Can we still use that level for analysis? Yeah, that's a good point. So, man, it is hot in here. Next time, I'm just going to have, the next show, I'm going to do completely naked, and it's just going to be on my head right here, and I have a fan underneath me. So, anyway, sorry, ladies. Just from the neck up. All right, so Bitcoin. Moving averages, I don't care for moving averages on my Bitcoin. I'm looking at that price chart, and if you look at the reliability of 45,000, to me, I feel like it's lost its validity. However, I do believe there still is a psychological value to 45,000. It's just a number people have stuck in their head. Now, unfortunately, today we continue to drift down further below 45,000. So the real question is, are we going to challenge this 30,000 mark? Are we going to get back even lower than 35,000? I don't believe so, especially with all that's going on. But am I putting as much emphasis on the 45,000 mark? No. I'm disappointed that we broke through and then retraced below it. I actually thought we'd bounce a couple times, which we did one time, and then we had the second breakdown below this 45,000 mark, which, I'd rather obviously keep trending up because I'm very biased to this one. At this point, I think we still have to just wait and see where it trends. There is no real strong demand zone in this most recent uptrend on the daily on Bitcoin futures. You have to start looking at right around 37,500. So, yeah, that's a little, certainly a ways away from current levels. Got about another $5,000 to go. We'll wait and see what happens over the weekend. I think that something positive is going to come from the Bitcoin conference, and you'll probably see a pop next week in it. No problemo, everybody. Let's see. Do you think that Musk will integrate Twitter to work with Doge blockchain? No, I don't. I think that he will accept payments and tips and integrate cryptocurrencies into Twitter. So I think what you'll start to see is, much like you guys can leave tips here, and I think it connects to your checking or something, I think what you'll start to see are people like YouTube, where you have that little, what's it called, a super sticker button or something like that? One second, I'm clicking on the button. Show your support. I don't know what it's called, but there's a little dollar sign at the bottom that you can, some of you will have tips. I think it's called Super Chat or Super Sticker. I think at some point what you'll have is the ability to say, I don't want it to send dollars. I want to send Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and I think that that's what will happen. I don't believe that they're going to put Twitter on a blockchain. I don't think so, but you never know. Do you think, asking for a friend, you inspired me to move to warmer climate, Beaufort, South Carolina. Oh, nice. Good. But you have the humidity over there. This today is a rare day, and plus I just don't have AC upstairs. I've never really used my upstairs in this place for years, so now I am. Let's see. Chowsky says, can we take a look at ATER short? A lot of hype recently. Oh, generally hype creates volatility. ATER. A lot of hype. Chowster, you love these little penny stocks. I know you love these penny stocks, trying to catch those pumps. To me, I apologize. This is gambling. ATER. I mean, you're looking at a stock that was trading at 225, and all of a sudden it said 460, and it popped up in a couple days on abnormally large volume. I don't know the justification as to why these moves happen. Certainly somebody's pumping it, press releases, some announcements being made. It's just too risky for me. So personally, Chowsky, I don't do these types of trades. I would much rather be in something that has this, that looks like this, right? Where I have a nice clear trend. Lower lows, lower highs, great. It'll take me longer to get to my objective, but I have a lot more safety. In a situation like this, where you see this is a gamble. It's a crapshoot, because there's no way in hell you would have caught this green candle, right? That was luck. Then you're jumping on here, and then you're just going to get whipsawed all over the place. Big up days, big down days. I don't know. It's just not my style. I don't really trade this type of one. It doesn't appear that it has that great of liquidity. Well, I was trading about 1.5 million a day, but it's still a penny stock, and I generally don't trade with penny stocks. So sorry, Chowsky. Most IRAs only have crypto exposure through crypto company stock and ETFs. I looked at Bitcoin IRA, but I thought it had high fees. Did you look at iTrust Capital, Tom? So iTrust Capital is like one of the bigger, more popular crypto IRAs. iTrust. And their fees aren't that bad. They're 1% transaction fees, which I don't think is that bad. You look here, you got 1% currency transaction. That's actually cheaper than Bitcoin, or cheaper than Coinbase. That's pretty good. So this might be one. And the nice thing about the cryptos here, let's see if they show you, they actually do have quite a bit. They have quite a few cryptos. Oh, I don't want to create an account, but they have quite a few cryptos you can use. But yeah, definitely shop around. You look at things, as Tom mentioned, you have GBTC, Bito, Mara. Well, I guess I missed the part from Jimmy earlier. What did you say there, Jimmy? Let me go back here real quick. Jimmy. Where's Jimmy? Are cryptos allowed in IRAs? Yes. Yep. Yes, they are. And again, it depends on your type of IRA. I mean, if you go self-directed IRA, in many cases, you can pretty much put it in what you want. I've heard cases where people are buying royalty products, not necessarily even stocks or futures or options. They're buying other instruments that allows them to generate income streams, which are very non-traditional, but it really depends on where you set your IRA up at. Cool. All right, what time we got? I'm done. I'm sweating, but I'm glowing over here. I'm glistening in the sun. All right, everybody. I don't have the economic calendar for next week just because most of the stuff doesn't start till Tuesday. The real big exciting part, and again, I'm going to be taking it light on Monday and Tuesday with regards to trading. I don't think you're going to see a lot of volatility. I think what will really kickstart it is you have CPI numbers on Tuesday, but Wednesday is when it really starts to grow because you have major financial firms reporting starting Wednesday and Thursday. Thursday's the motherlode of earnings announcements for financial firms. But if you look at what's going on with XLF, which I actually did sell some puts on. I think I sold, it was yesterday. I sold 35 puts, collected some very nice premium on XLF. I'll get the volume out of there. It has not been trending great. This is, you would think with the rising rate environment, this would actually help the financial firms, but it just seems to be drifting lower. So I actually sold some puts because I'd be okay owning down there at 35. You guys see 35 would be right about here, which I'm okay with. That's this kind of line in the sand. So I don't really like the most recent 4 or 5 months of XLF, but I did sell some puts to collect some premium there. I sold puts on XLF. I sold some ones on XLY. On the XLY, I'm at 155, so I'm definitely far away from current markets, but just generating a little bit extra premium. Oh, you can't place limit orders, and that's how they get you. They're getting you 1% plus taking a little bit of slippage. Yeah. Dang those brokers. It's a UPS. Not a parcel service. Ooh, man, looking ugly. By the way, did anybody see that plane crash, that DHL plane crash today? That was interesting. It was a Costa Rica DHL delivery plane. I guess they had hydraulic problems, and they came in for a crash landing, all on video. It's pretty cool. Nobody was hurt. Both the pilot and etc. was okay. Steve, look at UPS. I guess I got to ask myself is where would you want to be a buyer at it of United Parcel Service? So you have this origin, this gap, which is just about to close, and you could probably get some pretty decent premium. Notice that back here in August and September, it already closed this gap that goes all the way back into April of 2021. So that gap is closed. Now you have this new gap right here, which is probably just about to close. So I'm interested to see how this one works. If you are aggressive, maybe you sell some puts right around that 180 level. You're probably going to get some pretty decent premium because as this thing is tanking like this, people are stumbling over each other to get puts, buy protection. So if you're selling people protection at demand where you're saying, I don't think it's going to go any lower, then you put yourself in kind of a much safer spot. Now, granted, options expire next week, so, that's going to be a little challenging there. But all in all, I don't like the chart just because this break of the trend over the last 2 weeks has been aggressive from 225 all the way down to 190. But do you think it'll bounce here? Worth a shot, in my opinion. No problem, Christy. Good to have you with us today. Would there be a green week before Easter? More positives? Nah. Nope. Look, never hang your hat on, there's going to be a green candle for Easter or a green candle for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Statistics are there for a reason, and you can go back through and look at something like the Trader's Almanac. It gives you all the statistics on like every day of the year, whether it's an up day or a down day. The only ones that are really important that I like to look at are the Santa Claus rally, which we talked about, are the last 5 trading days of the year plus the first 2 of the new year, and then the quote that says, as goes January, so goes the rest of the year, because statistically, those have held up time and time again. But as far as trying to think that it's going to be an up week next week just because of Easter, I don't think so. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. I need to go and throw some ice on me and maybe refill this one because it's been a great week, and I'm looking forward to a fantastic weekend. If you guys have comments, questions, feedback, put them down below the YouTube videos. Again, less than others that have been doing that. I really do appreciate when you put them on the YouTube channel. I was told through some social media influencer that that actually helps your ratings, so Put comments or questions down below the YouTube channel. If there's something else you want to talk about or send me anything, you can send it to TraderMerlin@gmail.com. And if you are going to be in Vegas on May 11th, I will be giving a presentation. I believe it's at 1:30 p.m. May 11th, but I'm going to be up there on the 10th, so I'll be out and about enjoying Las Vegas as usual. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Hope you have a fantastic trading week. Cheers to everybody. Do something fun this weekend. Be a good human being, and I will see you all on Monday. Take care.